Welcome to Your Healthy Kitchen from Dignity Health Yavapai Regional Medical Center.
Welcome to Dignity Health YRMC's Your Healthy Kitchen. I'm your host, Rita Carey Rubin. You know, skin is amazing stuff. As our body's largest organ, it wraps and protects us, regulates temperature, makes vitamin D, fights infection, and because 1 inch of skin might contain over 1,000 nerve endings, it allows us to feel and interact with the world. And there's a lot we can do to nourish and support our skin throughout our lives. And some top tips include avoiding sun damage, reduce alcohol intake, don't smoke, don't eat too much sugar, and enjoy a plant-forward diet rich in essential nutrients like vitamin C and E and a host of protective phytochemicals. And I'll talk more about supporting your skin in a minute, but first, let's get cooking. I have a delicious recipe to share that's packed with nutrients that keep your skin healthy from the inside out. It's a version of mole, the rich traditional sauce from Mexico that varies from place to place, recipe to recipe, but it's usually based on a blend of nuts and seeds, chilies, and spices. So my version is based on a recipe from the cookbook called A New Way to Cook by Sally Schneider. And this one is flavored with dried ancho chilies, garlic, cinnamon, basil, oregano, cumin, tomatoes, onion, toasted almonds, and cocoa. So let's get cooking. So mole usually takes some time to prepare, but it really is worth it. You can refrigerate the sauce once it's made for at least a week, and it also freezes really well. And you can use this to just add a bright splash of flavor to so many different meals. You can plop in some mole in some soup or chili in a pot of beans, slather it on some grilled vegetables or proteins like chicken, shrimp, meat, and even tofu. So this mole is a little quicker than most, just to save a little bit of time, but it's really delicious. And there are just so many recipes out there, so explore lots of different flavors. So this one is based on ancho chilies, which are dried poblanos. So poblanos, when you buy them in the store, are green, and then if you let that poblano ripen till it's red, and then you dry it, you get an ancho chili. If you let that poblano ripen all the way, it becomes actually a dark chocolatey brown, and that's called a mulatto chili. And it has a slightly different flavor. It has a little more chocolatey flavor. But anchos are one of my favorites. So what I'm doing is just splitting open this chili, and I'm going to toast them just a little bit on a hot skillet here, just to bring out the flavor a little bit more. So with mole, as with really any traditional sauces, we're just adding layers of flavor to make it extra delicious. So the ancho is already dried, and this one is actually smoked as well. This comes from Whipstone Farm. You can buy their chilies fresh and dried at the farmer's market every Saturday, and I highly recommend it. They are just expert chili growers. And so I'm just toasting these just a little bit. I'm softening them a little bit and bringing out the flavor. So just a few minutes in a hot pan. And super, super delicious here. You can also use different chilies in mole. You can use pasilla or guajillo. Those are three. The ancho, pasilla, and guajillo are kind of the traditional chilies usually found in mole. So I can actually smell this right now. It's smelling really good. And while this toasts, I also have some onions cooking, and they've been cooking for a while. They're nice and toasty brown, and what we're going to do is they're cooked in just a little bit of salt, some olive oil, and a little bit of butter. So I add the butter to add a little layer of richness and umami to the dish. So these are ready to go. I don't want to cook them anymore. So I'm going to take those off the heat, and these chilies are ready to go too. So I'm putting these in just a little bit of hot water so that they soften And I'm going to turn off this part of the stove. And once they soften, I'm going to put them in the blender with the rest of the sauce. So in addition to toasting those chilies, I also toasted some cloves of garlic with the skin on. So the same idea, in a hot pan, just toast the garlic. It takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Turn them back and forth a little bit so that they just blacken. And you're also cooking the garlic a little bit as well. So these cloves are a little blackened on the outside, but soft and tender on the inside. So it's actually a pan roasted garlic. So I'm peeling these, and this is going to go in the sauce. So all of these ingredients we're going to put first into a blender. So I've got my garlic, and then also some chicken broth, and I have some herbs and spices over here. So this is oregano, dried from the garden. So I'm going to remove those, just remove the stems and throw this oregano, whole leaf is fine, right in the blender. It's all going to get blended up. Some cumin seed, whole cumin seed, some dried basil, and some cinnamon. So we have a blend of savory and sweet flavors in the pan. And also a little bit of balsamic vinegar for a little acid. So we've got sweet, savory, acidic, a little bit of spice. The ancho chilies themselves are kind of mild medium. They're not real spicy. And if you wanted your mole spicy, just definitely try adding some spicier chilies. So we'll throw these in here, and I'm going to put a little bit of that soaking liquid in there as well, just to help it blend up. And the last thing is I'm going to throw in some toasted almonds. So you can use sesame seeds. That's actually a pretty traditional ingredient in mole. So big noise, I'm just going to blend this up. There we go. And I'll add this to my onions. I'll put it back on the heat, add it to my onions. Here, and stir it up. And I'll just let it cook just for a couple minutes to transfer all that flavor. So what's really neat about mole is it actually does contain a lot of the nutrients that research shows is good for your skin, and actually contains two of the foods that have been shown to be good for your skin. So one is tomatoes. So these are just some canned fire roasted tomatoes that I blended into a puree. So I'm going to add this to my pan as well. And we know that tomatoes are really rich in a phytochemical called lycopene, which is a very protective antioxidant. And research shows that it can actually protect us from damage from the sun, reducing your risk of sunburn, and also can help reduce wrinkles, yay. And it reduces inflammation as well. So all good stuff for your skin. And the second food that's really been studied a lot for skin health is cocoa or chocolate. And so Mexican mole, you can use Mexican chocolate, which is usually chocolate. It's dark chocolate blended with some spices like cinnamon, and it often has some nuts in it as well. So you can use just Mexican chocolate in this recipe, or just cocoa or cacao. This is cacao, which is a less processed cocoa powder. and has similar protection as the tomatoes do. So different, they have a different group of phytochemicals in cocoa, but offer the same protection that those tomatoes do. And then all those spices and the herbs that are in this sauce are also have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory actions, which is all good for your skin. So that's it. This is a shortened version of mole. You can find recipes that are way more involved and just as delicious. This just sits and simmers for about 20-25 minutes to concentrate the flavors and concentrate the sauce. And if you were going to add a protein food, you could just let it simmer in the sauce, like chicken, and tofu is really yummy with mole. So when it's done, once it all cooks down, this is what it looks like. So this deep, rich, raisiny, purple, red color, just redolent with just amazing aroma. Really, really delicious. And remember, you can make this ahead of time and store it in the fridge or in the freezer. So, oh, you know what? I forgot to add one little bit of ingredient. I also add a little maple syrup. And that just balances some of the flavors in here. So there's a little acid in here with the tomatoes and the vinegar. There is a little bitter with the cocoa, and even with the chilies. And so that just a little bit of sweetener really adds some balance to the sauce. So when you make it, just taste it. See, does it need a little more vinegar? Does it need a little more maple syrup? Does it need a little salt? You know, that's how you cook, right? Is just try it as you go. So, you know, some research shows that a plant-forward diet, or one that features vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes, with smaller portions of animal products, supports healthy skin. And these foods are excellent sources of the nutrients the skin needs to regenerate and protect itself from damage. So some of the nutrients, we talked about a couple of them, but some of the nutrients important for skin are vitamin C. And vitamin C, like I said earlier, is an antioxidant, and it protects the skin from excessive sun exposure. It can prevent sunburn to some extent. It builds collagen, which is the stuff that holds your skin together and prevents wrinkles. And it also fights inflammation. Vitamin E, you can find that in nuts and seeds. So we have some almonds in here. It's also an antioxidant, which protects the skin from the sun again and improves the skin hydration. So that's another thing to remember about skin health is drink lots of water. Carotenoids, so those are a group of chemicals in plants that are essential again for skin hydration and regeneration, because we replace our skin cells on a regular basis. So carotenoids you'll find in things that are green and red and purple and blue. So we've got a lot of carotenoids in this mole. And then polyphenols, so another plant-based chemical that also show to improve skin hydration, elasticity. So when you pull on their skin, it'll bounce back, and also reduces the effects of sunburn and sun exposure and reduces inflammation. So remember, so those dark-colored fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, olive oil, herbs, spices, and cocoa contain all of these skin-loving nutrients and more. So remember to fill your plate with more plants, reduce your intake of animal products, don't go overboard with sweets and alcohol, and don't smoke. Your skin will thank you for it. So you'll find all of our videos and many more recipes to support healthy skin and a healthy body at yrmchealthconnect.org. And remember to follow me on Facebook at YRMC's Your Healthy Kitchen, where I post photos, videos, and recipes for the plant-forward meals I prepare in my own kitchen, plus links to my favorite food and gardening destinations on the web. So until next time, eat well and be well, and we'll see you soon.